Welcome to the 19th week of this year's In Times Like These recap. Now, let's get into this. Starting with Max Russo, who is at the Dorval estate, welcomed by Yulisa Torres and Vanessa Dorval. Max tells them how he's ready to move on from what Yvette put him through, revealing to them that he gave his life to Jesus Christ. Yulisa is ecstatic, and Vanessa tells Max how happy she is to hear that he's a born-again Christian. Even though Vanessa understands that she and Max haven't always gotten along, she tells him how she's willing to start a friendship with him, which he isn't opposed to. Quinlan Franklin is surprised to see Nachelle Torres pop up at her apartment, asking to speak with Zeke. When Zeke walks in, Quinlan allows her younger brother to speak with his ex. When Zeke asks Nachelle what she wants, she asks him if he thinks that her father Devante took Elvira Russo's life. She assures Zeke that if he just answers honestly, then some of her trust in him might be restored. The answer which Zeke gives is that there's no doubt in his mind that Devante took Elvira's life. Nachelle begins to ask Zeke why he thinks that way. Zeke pleads with Nachelle to just accept his thoughts and stop pressing for answers. She assures Zeke that whatever her father has done, she's certain that he would never harm her. Even if that's true, Zeke tells Nachelle that her father can't save her from Adaku. Hearing his makes it clear to Nachelle that her father and Adaku have been doing sketchy work together, asking what her father does for Adaku. Frustrated, Zeke tells Nachelle to stop asking questions and demands that she leaves. When she does as she's told, Zeke is devastated. Alan Russo arrives at Theodosius's palace, asking Pacho Torres why he wanted to meet with him. Pacho jokingly tells Alan that he'll hand the hotel over to him since it's clear that Alan is after it. Alan tries to play dumb, but tells Pacho that since he's standing by his father, then it shows that he's not fit to run a business. Pacho reminds Alan that his online retail store is successful, and that since he grew up in Theodosius's palace, he's more than capable of running it. He goes on to tell Alan that he would fail since Alan never ran a business, proceeding to ask Alan if he's willing to take everything from his family. Alan tells Pacho that the Torres family deserves to lose everything after Devante took Elvira's life. Pacho reveals to Alan that he recorded their entire conversation, warning Alan that he will release to the public if Alan doesn't back off. Once Alan walks off, Pacho prepares to do the same thing to Adaku Danjuma. Isidore Russo gets a call from Terry explaining that Devante asked her to serve as a character witness. He responds by telling Terry that they can use this against Devante. When Terry questions how, Isidore tells Terry to commit perjury and tell the court that Devante mistreated her. Terry is worried about breaking the law and making herself Devante's target. Isidore isn't worried about Terry's concerns, telling her to do as he says. In Isabel's hotel room, she's surprised to see Nachelle not at school. Nachelle tells her mother how she feels like she's been wrong about Devante this entire time. Nachelle goes on to explain that she never expected Devante to take anyone's life, just like she never expected Devante to make a mockery out of Isabel in court. Isabel is certain that despite how sick Devante is, his love for Nachelle and her siblings is real. Nachelle isn't sure, since he wasn't willing to tell her the truth about Elvira or even Adaku Danjuma. After Nachelle tells Isabel about her meeting with Adaku Danjuma, she expresses how she feels like she should have believed in Devante's guilt then and there. Max brings his parents and grandparents together in the Russo living room, telling them that he's leaving the Catholic Church. Clarice is heartbroken to hear the news, but Gianni and Heidi stand by their son's side. When Clarice, Lorenzo, and Heidi leave the room, Max expresses to his father how glad he is to have Heidi back home. Gianni tells his son that Heidi's stay is only temporary. As for Max, he tells his father that if he still loves Heidi, then they should attempt to work things out. Terry arrives at Finnegan's office at the police station as Finnegan shows his ex-wife that he's in possession of Elvira's diary. Since the diary holds her dark secret, Terry asks her ex-husband if he's going to press charges against her. Finnegan tells Terry that he'll agree to rip out the pages concerning her role in taking Dante Russo's life if she allows him to have joint custody of their son. telling him that it's this sort of behavior that she wanted Keeve to stay away from. Finnegan tells Terry how he doubts any lawyer would want their son to live with someone who ended the life of another person. Before Terry leaves, she warns Finnegan that this is something that he'll come to regret. At the high school, Keeve tells JJ that he's aware of Max's return from rehab, but doesn't tell JJ that he's worried that Vanessa will fall for Max since Max just became a born-again Christian. Keeve reminds JJ that he and Vanessa found Max when he overdosed, asking how Vanessa could forgive Max so easily. The answers which JJ gives is that Max was suffering over Yvette's lie, telling Keeve that they needed Max to forgive them, which Max did. Keeve points out that Max isn't bold enough to return to school. JJ feels like Max is trying to adjust to being back from rehab, then asks Keeve why he's so eager to make Max look like a villain. Lying, Keeve tells JJ that he's only concerned about JJ and his sister. JJ tells Keeve that he has nothing to be concerned about, going on about how Max is a cool guy and that he and Vanessa want to know him better. As soon as JJ walks off, Keeve becomes furious, refusing to let Max take Vanessa away from him. In the hotel, Yulisa tells Isabel that she's ready to face her about the pregnancy termination all of those years ago. Since it was something that Isabel could never forget, Yulisa asks her mother what made her, Nichelle, and even Pacho different than the baby she got rid of. Isabel tells Yulisa that she was afraid. Yulisa goes on to ask her mother what she was so afraid of. This is when Yulisa is reminded that Pacho was only a baby and didn't want him to grow up in a broken home. Understanding that, Yulisa wonders why Isabel's baby had to be sacrificed for Pacho's happiness. Sorrowfully, Isabel tells Yulisa that it was easier to think about the baby she already knew and loved than the baby that she couldn't put a face to. Yulisa points out that she felt like Isidore would have supported her, or that it could have been possible for Devante to forgive her after all he's done. Bottom line, Isabel explains that she couldn't hurt Devante by having another man's child, and she was unaware of what Devante did, regretting that she sacrificed her child for him. Yulisa tells her mother that she'll never be able to accept the decision she made. Isabel tells Yulisa that they both have the same feeling, telling Yulisa that she will regret her decision for as long as she lives. Since Isabel can't turn back time and make a different choice, Yulisa tells Isabel that she'll accept that it happened and figure out how they can move on as a family. Isabel appreciates this from Yulisa, telling her daughter how much she feared that this would affect their relationship, telling her daughter that even though she found out this secret, she doesn't want to lose her love. Yulisa hugs her mother, telling Isabel that her love never went away. There's a knock at the door, and when Isabel answers it, she sees Isidore. At Theodosius's palace, Devante asks Nichelle what's upsetting her. Nichelle tells her father that she's upset because he weaponized the fact that Isabel terminated her pregnancy against her. As soon as Devante tells Nichelle that it pained him to see her mother in pain, she asks Devante why he allowed it to happen. Devante tells his daughter that during trials, things go out of control, asking her to trust him. Nichelle tells her father that trusting him is what tore this family apart. He asks Nichelle who got to her, wondering if Isabel or Yulisa turned her against him. Nichelle tells Devante that his actions turned her against him and asks her father what made him snap the night he took Elver's life. Devante claims that nothing did, claiming that he didn't take Elvira's life. She points out that he said the same thing about Adaku, but tells her father that she's not as stupid as he thinks. Devante assures Nichelle that she's not stupid, but Nichelle tells her father that he wants it to be true because he would have gone manipulating her for the rest of her life. At Global News Press, Adaku goes over with Pacho how their partnership will work. Since Pacho remembers the fatal overdose at the beachfront during spring break, he asks Adaku if that was her product. Adaku admits that it was, then also admits to Pacho that their families have worked together for years. Pacho leaves Adaku's office, revealing that he recorded their entire conversation. which is enough to help the police to build a case against her. At the Russo estate, Heidi tells Gianni that she's willing to stay there for Max's sake as long as he doesn't sabotage it. Annoyed, Gianni tells Heidi that she messed everything up when she cheated on him with Finnegan Burke. Once again, Heidi apologizes to her husband, wondering if he regrets cheating on her with Quinlan. Gianni tells Heidi that Quinlan wouldn't have entered the picture if she didn't cheat first. Offended, Heidi is angered that Gianni can't accept accountability. Gianni tells Heidi how she should know the feeling since she planned to take her secret to the grave. Since that was her plan, she asks Gianni if that shows him that she really didn't want Finnegan, but wanted her husband. Gianni responds by telling his wife that she shouldn't have fell for Finnegan's advances towards her, and that she should have thought about him and their family. She asks Gianni if he's no longer in love with her, promising to pack up her things and sign the papers. He tells Heidi that Max still wants her to stay. Once again, Heidi asks Gianni if he still loves her. Gianni still doesn't answer. Then she tells Gianni how she loves him and promises to show him. She goes on to kiss her husband. When Isabel tells Isidore that she doesn't feel like they have anything to say to each other, Isidore asks her if she was ever going to tell him that she was pregnant with his child. As soon as Isabel tells Isidore that she doesn't have to explain herself to him, he tells Isabel that he wouldn't have turned her away. Isabel is certain that Isidore wouldn't deny her child. She reminds Isidore that she was married to Devante, already had a family with him, and that the one-night stand wasn't supposed to happen, nor was the pregnancy supposed to happen. Isabel goes on to tell Isidore that she couldn't hurt Devante by fooling him into raising and even loving a child that didn't belong to him. Hurt. Isidore wonders if Isabel felt like the best choice was to get rid of it. She tells Isidore that she felt like it was the best choice then, but realizes it was the worst mistake of her life. Isidore assures Isabel that he doesn't hate her, especially since he sees how this has been eating her up inside for so long. As soon as Isidore gets closer to Isabel, she tells him to go away. Vanessa tells her mother how it's going to take a lot of getting used to seeing Max attend their church. Shelley tells her daughter that the more she sees Max and the closer they get as friends, then she'll get used to it. Vanessa goes on to tell her mother how she regrets only seeing Max as an annoying guy instead of a lost soul who needs Jesus. The response that Shelley gives is that it's all in the past now and that she and Max can build up a beneficial friendship. Jeremiah and Raymond walk in with a rose in his hand, telling Vanessa that it's for her, but doesn't say who it came from. Despite that, Jeremiah wonders if it came from Max. Vanessa assures her father that she and Max agreed to just be friends, then calls Max to find out if he sent her the rose. Max assures Vanessa that he didn't, but is upset at the fact that someone else has their eye on her. When Max ends the call, neither he nor Vanessa know that Keeve is watching Vanessa through the teddy bear camera, desiring to make Vanessa fall for him. Before Max received a call from Vanessa, he spent time with Ben, inviting him to church. When Ben declined the invitation, Quinlan walked in, then Max left. She informs Ben that Adaku is going down. Since that's the case, he tells Quinlan that it means they have no reason to communicate with one another. Quinlan respects Ben's wishes, telling him that her life will never be the same without him. At the police station, Pacho hands Finnegan the recording of Adaku admitting to selling substances at Theodosius's palace with his father's knowledge. Finnegan thanks Pacho for getting the information, stating that both Devante and the Danjuma organization will go down. At Theodosius' palace, Devante goes off on Adaku, blaming her for Nichelle's distrust in him. Later on, Adaku gets a notification on her phone, informing her that her home is being raided. Feeling suspicious, she pulls a gun out on Devante, asking him if he told Pacho about their connection. Annoyed, Devante tells Adaku that Pacho doesn't know a thing about it. This causes her to question why her house is being raided after she agreed to become Pacho's business partner. Upon hearing this, then disbelief, asking Adaku why she wouldn't tell him that she's doing business with Pacho. She lowers the gun, telling him that it doesn't matter anymore. Adaku goes on to tell Devante that she'll be out of town, but tells Devante that his son is now an enemy of hers. Devante warns Adaku not to go after his family. She tells him that he wouldn't be saying that if he knew that his family was going after him, telling him that it makes sense as to how Quinlan knew her true identity, then walks off. Can't get enough of the crazy world of In Times Like These? Then treat yourself to a binge watch of In Times Like These. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You're not ready for what's to come?